This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have two good neighbors on the show, Dominika Calhoun and Samantha Clark of Coldwell Banker, the Real Estate Center. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hello. Hi, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Dominika knows a little bit more about us than the average guest, and I imagine you do as well, Samantha, as they are clients, which is very cool to have them on the show. I'm looking forward to getting to know more about both of you. Let's start up at the top about your business. I mean, we've had a number of real estate agents on the show, but we can always learn the next nugget, and your real estate journey is different than anybody else's. So let's talk about it. What do you guys do?
So we sell real estate in Simcoe County, and we cover a bit of a larger territory because we also go into Muskoka. And more recently, as of fall 2024, we've expanded into the GTA West and Kitchener-Waterloo Guelph area. So there's a lot of territory, big area to cover. Put a lot of kilometers on our car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And is there, so from like the client point of view, is there the first time home buyers, rental properties, investment properties? What do you guys focus on? Any and all things, or is there a niche that you're find that your expertise are more fitted for?
We do lean towards investment properties, recreational properties in Mississauga, Airbnbs. We do, both of us manage an Airbnb up in Georgian Bay for clients. And so that kind of helps us speak to that a little bit more.
Downsizers.
And downsizers as well. We find that we connect really well with people that are moving to the, I guess, next stage of their life and wrapping things or winding things down. And also first-time home buyers, because as both of us have been first-time home buyers, fairly recently, that's something that we can connect with people and just help guide them in a genuine, authentic way, because it's not easy out there.
No. And every transaction requires a different skill set or a different special thing that you're going to have to do for it. So we try to tailor the experience to what the clients really need from us, whether that be a little bit more support and encouragement, whether that be sharing a bunch of information or touring them around an area that they're considering buying. It's just kind of, we do what we can to make them feel confident and comfortable in the largest purchase of their entire lives.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm interested in the recreation side. I think you're probably the first, you got to be the first real estate agent to come on the show that talks about the recreational side. So walk me through that. Pretend I know nothing. I know you said Airbnb. I've never actually stayed at an Airbnb myself. We're planning one right now, but very uncertain. I don't know why I feel like, I don't know why I have this looming feeling about it. It's just simply because I've never done it before. But walk me through that. How do you sell that? How do you get into that world? What is it like?
So I guess, I don't know, managing Airbnbs is something that, I guess for us, it was something that landed in our lap as an opportunity, and we are yes people. So we sort of got into it almost accidentally, but because we're on the cusp of Muskoka, and Georgian Bay especially has a lot of hidden gems for vacation properties. It just allowed us to expand our knowledge. And with Airbnb and recreational properties, especially now, there are a lot of rules that are being implemented by municipalities. So knowledge is everything. And we just love to learn about what the new thing is that you need to apply and, tell your clients really to make sure that they're making good decisions. So, being in the Airbnb management world has allowed us to just learn so much more so that we have more experience to be able to provide that as an option for services for our clients.
Yeah, I like that. And when you say management, I'm still trying to work this out in my head. What does that mean, management? So does that mean you guys own the property and you're managing it, or does your client own the property and you're taking care of it? How does that work?
Yeah, so our client owns a property and we're managing it. But management means being present with customers. So the initial conversation of, making sure it's a good fit, that they rent and they enjoy the property, their expectations, meeting them, and making sure that we're providing everything that they need throughout their stay so that they have a good experience. And then, making sure that we're stocked up on our supplies, and the Airbnb is cleaned after every stay and it's up to par, and there's a standard that you
Oversee
maintain.
any trades that may have to come, oversee any repairs. We also did the kind of a majority of the setup of it. So we helped the property owner buy all of the necessities for the kitchen, the furniture, the decor, the bedding, a bunch of the things that you just don't think of that people will ask you about. And people have a lot of interesting requests at Airbnbs. That's really funny sometimes.
So that, yeah, in the truest sense, you're managing that property. So if I wanted to rent this particular property, I would be speaking to you guys?
Yes.
You would be the customer facing point of contact.
That's right.
Dom does most of that. And then I, since I'm in the area, do a lot of the physical hands-on stuff. So I do any site visits, or if anyone wants to rent it a little bit longer term and want to see it, I'll go show it. And I also do all the supply restocks. So I am at Costco a lot.
And is Dom the short form? I feel like, now that we're 13 minutes in here, we can get into short forms. Dom,
Yeah,
Samantha.
absolutely. Sam and Dom.
Perfect.
We have long names.
Too long.
Okay. So not only do we have this show to share the story behind the business and promote it and get it out there so that they can impact more people, help grow their business and promote their business, but the actual story of the humans of that business is very fascinating. I am incredibly fascinated in just the story behind humans. How did we get to where we are now? What decisions did we make, et cetera, et cetera? Like, why did we find this to be our purpose? Things like that. It's very interesting to me. So we love to ask the guests on the shows, like, what led you to saying, I'm interested in real estate? That had to pop up at some point. And then so interested in real estate that I'm going to make this my profession. Because those are two different things. I mean, I could be interested in the gym, and I am, but making it my profession and owning a gym is a very different leap. So you made a big leap into a very competitive world. What led you there?
Both of us have always kind of felt the passion for it. I can only speak for myself, but I know I have had an interest in real estate since I was about 8 or 10. I remember so clearly when we first got home internet, I think I was probably about 10, and I discovered the MLS website. I would spend hours on there. A little bit of an odd kid, but that's okay. And at that point in time, I was like, I want to be a real estate agent. All of the adults around me did their best to talk me out of it. And I unfortunately took that advice, and I did end up going to university to get a political science degree I've used 0 times. And then after that, I did a postgraduate in human resources, worked in that for a little bit, and just realized this is not for me. It's just not for me. And at that point in time, I realized that the barrier to entry for mortgages was actually a little bit lower than real estate. So the real estate course takes like 6 to 8 months. Mortgages takes a week. And I got that license, worked on the broker side for 3 years. So I do have a good amount of knowledge that I got to carry into real estate. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. I don't work that side anymore. But I feel like that's given me a unique perspective on a lot of properties. Mm-hmm. And then while working in mortgages, I was connected with Dominika through a friend that I've had since high school. And she was in the same brokerage as Dom. And we started going to dinners together down in Vaughan with this group of girls who are all in real estate. And her and I were the two furthest north because she was living in Wabashin at the time. And I had said to her, hey, do you want to carpool? So we started carpooling together down to these dinners, and we just really hit it off. And I started working with her as her admin early last year, and then finished my license. And then we worked super well together when I was your admin, and we grew the Simcoe Life from there. The Simcoe Life was born there, and it's still very much growing. Mm-hmm.
So is that the business name? Real estate sometimes confuses the heck out of me. We have a number of clients that are under Remax, and then there's like 7 names beside it, 7 words beside it. So is Simcoe Life the business?
So yes, Simcoe Life is like our personal brand.
Yeah.
We work under the brand of Coldwell Banker, the Real Estate Center, which is our brokerage.
Right.
And we have 8 offices to support our clients throughout the North and the GTA. So it's easy. It's easy for clients to be able to get to one of our brokerage offices. We have a good spread, but we wanted to create our own little personal brand within real estate, just so then that way we're a little bit more recognizable as this partnership here within the Coldwell Banker Real Estate Center world.
And that's what I thought. So when you have your stuff out there, whatever it may be, you would see Simcoe Life on it and Coldwell Banker.
That's right.
Beautiful. I love it. So another part of the podcast that we love so much, it's like, let's get on here and share businesses that some people probably don't even know of. I mean, there's 500,000 people in Simcoe County, something like that. If we even impact a single percentage point of those people, we're going to do well in business. So it's like, let's tell them about the business. Let's talk about the problems we solve, but also let's educate them as much as possible. If somebody can walk away from the show learning something that can alter their decisions coming up, that can lead to increasing the quality of their life, that's a huge win. So myths and misconceptions. There are a few industries out there that I can't think of more than in the real estate industry, especially with being able to buy directly from a website now. I've had a couple of friends try to do that. They now know the complications that comes from trying to buy and sell your own home, which is something I would never do. But let's talk about some of those myths and misconceptions so that we can help clarify for people to hopefully make better, less stressful decisions.
I think you've hit it right on the head there about it being a very stressful situation. It's probably the most stressful thing that you're going to do in your life is to move and purchase and sell a home. And so we aim to take that stress out of it. And what a website or a program can't do is they can't bring the emotional part into it. And real estate is very emotional. So we act as mediators between two, in a very emotionally charged transaction. And so we have to be the neutral party and basically mitigate those emotions to make sure that we can come to an agreement and get the job done for people, for our clients.
There's also a great deal of protection that goes into it as well. We're very, very diligent about our paperwork and things, and there's a lot of liabilities that can crop up that maybe people aren't educated on. So you really want to make sure that you have all of your legal ducks in a row, which is where a real estate agent really helps you out, because we spend months learning how to fill out that paperwork properly. And we go through, like myself, I do probably 2 or 3 different trainings per week on different things just to expand my knowledge. So it's something that maybe you could do on your own, but it would be very daunting, and there would be a lot of nuanced little things that would take a lot of kind of time to understand and educate yourself on so that you can do it properly. And people maybe don't realize the liability that they're putting themselves at there. So yeah, there's a lot of protection, and we're also, you know, it is like a one side versus another type of business, and we can be very fiercely protective of our clients in that case. So we really like to ensure that everything is done above board and properly just to keep them safe.
And there's a lot to, you know, before I got into real estate, I would watch that show House Hunters, and I had the misconception that, you know, you show 3 houses and then you write an offer and boom, you get a paycheck and it's so easy. But in reality, it takes a really long time to get to the finish line, to find the right home, get the right offer, have all the parties agree on all the terms, and then deal with the aftermath, which is the moving part and all the things that go with moving, like hiring a moving company, fixing up damage that might have been written into the contract that needs to be dealt with, canceling your utilities, making sure your bills are all paid and things like that. So there's a lot of back end work that goes into it that you just don't see from the outside looking in. And it's one of those things that I didn't realize, but it actually like seeps into all aspects of your life. I've learned to lean into this, but with Murphy's Law, I always find that when I have no plans, I don't have anything going on. And then as soon as I make plans, all the work comes out of the woodwork. And then I'm working on vacation and I'm working at my, in-laws dinner, and I'm working at the cottage, and I'm working, in any like personal situation that I have like planned. So I've just become very okay with that, you know what, I'm going to always potentially have to be working at any given moment. And that's part of the job that's could become a struggle. But if you just accept that, then, it helps you just show up better.
I had to teach her last year that it's actually okay to say that you have like an 8 or 9 p.m. closing time. You do not have to work from, the moment your eyes open to the moment your eyes shut. You can actually take some wind down time.
Because I was doing that. I was actually working from the moment I opened my eyes. I would open my phone and start working. And then the moment I would go to bed, when I closed my phone, I was still working.
And then you dream about work.
And then you do dream about work.
So many times.
So let's talk about that for a moment, because many people that watch this show are entrepreneurs. So I think some of us are workaholics that have been on the show. Certainly some of my clients are. I know some people on my team are. Probably some people would call me as well. How do you, can you do that forever, Dominika? And is that the goal? Work from morning till night? Is the juice worth the squeeze? How do we manage that?
No, that's not sustainable, because that's a fast track to burnout. And I think I've learned boundary setting and taking time for self-care. I've started to do some creative outlets. I started painting after 20 years as a great creative outlet, and yoga is a great outlet as well, because it just brings you back to the present. Because a lot of these transactions are really stressful for our clients and for us too, because, there's some really difficult situations people run into, and you take that with you and you think about it, so you have to have a way to basically step away from that and ground yourself.
That also brought on our expansion to create this team. When we started our connection when I was working in mortgages, and then quickly saw how crazy her life and schedule was. And I'd already had the need, but it kind of just relit that fire under me to finish that license. So we've now figured out like double trouble, divide and conquer. So we've gotten a lot better at delegating tasks to each other if needed. So it really does take a lot of the pressure off from that time period where she was working like sun up to sundown, like eyes open to eyes shut kind of thing.
And is there so this is something I often think about. We go through different seasons. Some people call them chapters of your life. And I think depending on the size of the goal, like if you're really out of shape, let's say, and you really want to get your health back in line, if you pour a ton of effort into your health and maybe you sacrifice some time with your friends, or maybe some time with your spouse, or maybe some work time, you could probably get in shape quicker than if you did all of those things at the same time. There's only so many hours in the day. And then you could argue the same thing with your business. Like, let's say you want to grow a $10 million a year business. That's not going to be an easy thing to do. Most businesses are not that. Those are in the small percentage points. And maybe you want to get even higher than that. So do you believe in this idea of going really hard, sacrificing a lot for 5 or 10 years to kind of get to where you want to go with that particular goal, taking your foot off the gas and maybe leveling out? Or do we try to balance all things at all times, which certainly I have not figured out? I'm looking more for a harmony, but I'd love to hear other people's take on it.
I think originally that was what the expectation was just to go pedal to the metal and try to get there. But I was finding that I was putting really high expectations of myself. And then when I wasn't meeting them, I would feel disappointed and let down.
Same.
We feel the same way.
We both push ourselves really hard, and we're both kind of perfectionists, and we set lofty goals for ourselves thinking we can do it. And then, when there's a down year in the market like this past year was, it's hard. So we've this past year has really taught us just go with the flow. You know what? if business is meant to come, it will come. If it's not, that means you're meant to have a little bit of a rest period. So we very much kind of take the ebbs and flows as they come. There's some weeks that we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and there's other weeks that we can spend like 2 days just having a nap or hanging out with the dog or whatever.
Recouping the energy. And I think the other thing of it is that you can't do this alone. You have to ask for help, and it takes a village to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have really good support systems from your family, your friends, your outlets, because if you don't have that, it makes it infinitely harder to get to that next step. And to that point, I feel like when you lean into what's meant for you and that it will come to you when the time is right and you don't force things to happen, it kind of opens you up to just better things down the road if you just let, like Sam said, let things flow as opposed to fighting it and like forcing it to happen.
And I say all the time, life's a marathon, not a sprint. We'll get there when we get there. The last person to finish a race still finished the race. It's
fair point. You were talking about support systems. You can't do this alone. So there's 2 of you, and I also have a business partner. And this is another thing that I'm curious about. Are you guys purely business and friends? How does that work out? I mean, you guys are snuggled up on that couch pretty close, so I'm feeling like there's a friendship.
Oh yeah, we're absolutely best friends. We spend so much time together. Like, you never know. It doesn't feel like work when we're working together because we just are kind of hanging out, laughing, giggling through the whole thing. Like, we could be scrubbing baseboards or mopping or cleaning up God only knows what.
A hoarder house.
Oh, been there. Yeah. You never know. And we've seen some things, but it's way more fun together. So it's definitely, that's brought a lot of joy to work for us.
It takes the edge off the tough times, and we kind of prop each other up when one is down, the other one picks the other one up, and we go through the seasons together, right? So we're kind of like 2 spaghetti noodles traveling on the same path.
A psychic said that to us once, and we think it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, well, I bet you other people do too now, as I do as well. Any suggestions? Partnerships can be absolutely atrocious, just like relationships, but they also can be one of the most beautiful things that a human experiences. So you guys have seemed to figure out something. Any suggestions to the potential partners out there or people that are partners right now, maybe struggling?
I think communication is key.
And be really sure.
Yeah.
Make sure that that's a person that if you're like, okay, you're going to be in my life for potentially the next like 20 to 30 years. You okay with that? I'm okay with that. You okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's going great.
But like the communication, I think, is so crucial because there are situations that come up and you have to be able to be vulnerable with the other person and really tell them how you feel without, feelings being hurt or misunderstandings. And so when you can just show up authentically in a partnership and the other person can, I think that's the key for a lasting relationship.
I also kind of think we try to keep the business side and the friendship side separately because we did have such an established friendship prior to working together. It's a little bit, like, I'm not saying we're great at it, but it's a little bit easier to keep those things separated. But absolutely just being able to say, hey, that hurt my feelings, or hey, I don't think we should do that. Hey, I don't think that's a good idea, or whatever it may be that you have to have the kind of hard conversation about. It's important that you are with somebody that maybe is a good personality match for you. If you're kind of more of a quiet personality, you're not going to want to go with someone who's really overbearing. We find that where I have weaknesses, she has incredible strengths, and where she has weaknesses, I'm quite strong. Like, she is, eye for detail, a mean negotiator, phenomenal negotiator. And like, she has got all of the real estate knowledge that's in this head is insane.
I'm a sponge.
She is a sponge. Whereas I'm really good at organizing, planning, paperwork, the client communication things. Like, if there's somebody that's having like an emotional breakdown, I'm there. I'm on it. I got it. Don't even consider it dealt with. So we very much complement each other's strengths and weaknesses, and that is something that we were well aware of before we entered into this partnership. Like computer things, I'm terrible at computers. She's magical at computers. There's so many little things that just balance well.
Yeah, that's what you have to look for in a good partner, is somebody that compliments you, and you can see yourself. It's kind of like a marriage. You got to put the work in, but you have to find, you have to set boundaries, but you have mutual respect, and there's love, and I think that makes for a beautiful outcome.
We talked about it for a long time too, prior to actually moving forward with it, while I was still finishing all of the courses. So it's something that we definitely didn't go into on a whim or without really discussing kind of clear boundaries, clear expectations and structures of everything. So there's nothing that's a surprise. We have a very clear kind of set way how we handle every inquiry that comes in, every client that comes in, who handles what. We've kind of got it down to a bit of a system now.
Love it. Communication, key. And I really like that you guys have identified that you don't get a clone of yourself. I've had many partners when I was in the gym, when I own an HVAC business, and now in our advertising marketing business. And this is the first time that I didn't get a clone of myself. As I was finally guided through that path, mentor said, you keep wanting to double yourself. And that person, you don't work well with yourself, essentially. So get somebody that's good at the things you're not good at. Hire people around that are smarter than you at the things you're not smart at. And so Sean is those things for me. And I'd like to say I'm those things for him. Let's pivot a little bit into you two. So Sam, we're going to start with you. Rapid fire here. 5 things that put a smile on your face, that like really fucking light you up.
My standard poodle, Kirk, the love of my life, my reason for being.
What was that? What did you say?
My standard poodle. His name's Kirk.
Oh, my standard poodle.
Sorry,
Kirk.
my poodle, Kirk.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
both sides, so we call him, his full name is Kirkland. Love of my life. Cars, more specifically large SUVs. I know way too much about them. It's not healthy.
Okay.
What else do I love? I love boat rides and being anywhere near the water. Trampolines. Who doesn't love trampolines? I love doing stuff like that. And I love a good yoga class.
Okay. Dom, what do you hate?
What do I hate? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Go super.
No, I'm not really a hater, to be honest with you. It's such a strong word. So that this is a hard one for me, because like there's really nothing that I absolutely hate. Even with food, like I'm not even that picky. I'll try anything and I'll be okay with it. So give me another question, because I don't know that I hate anything.
Or give her the loves and I'll give you the hates.
Yeah, I'm good cop. She's bad cop.
What lights you up? 5 things.
What lights me up? Music for sure.
Okay.
I call myself an audiophile. I'm very particular about like high-end audio, and I love listening to music. It really brings me into a really good vibe. Also, the painting. I got back into painting after 20 years. I used to do a lot of art when I was younger, in high school and in university, and then I just kind of dropped it. And it's really bringing back a sense of purpose and creativity that I've been missing in my life. My doggy, actually my 2 doggies now, because I've inherited a second doggy, Remy, the Doberman, and Abby, the Springer Spaniel.
Mm-hmm.
What else? My
Cooking?
car.
Oh,
My car. I love my car.
I think I saw that car. What is it?
It's a Range Rover Velar in the red and black.
Damn.
I spoiled myself because I was going through a really difficult time, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to get my midlife crisis. I'm going to have my third life crisis. So, and I live in that thing. I put 50,000 kilometers on a car a year. So it's basically my traveling office. I have taken naps in there. I have, concerts for one. And
meals.
so it is my second home. So yeah.
We got 4. We need one more.
What else lights me up?
Cooking.
Oh yeah, cooking. That's another thing. I fell off the wagon with that for a little bit, and I realized that it's fundamentally a core part of me. I basically grew up on the floor in my aunt's kitchen, helping her cook when I was just tiny. So I learned a lot in the kitchen, and it just comes naturally. So cooking for other people, it just brings me a lot of joy. I
Love
mean,
it.
we just celebrated Sam's birthday and I came over here to cook her dinner last night.
And it was so good. The most delicious homemade Alfredo sauce you will ever have in your life. And then followed by the most magical Rice Krispie squares that we've probably both had like 7 of in the last 24 hours.
Pasta and Rice Krispies. Can I guess your age? Are you going to be, can I do that?
All right, try it.
I do. Okay. So first off, when was it? That's going to give me my
Your
intuition.
birthday? When was
Yeah.
my birthday?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's on Thursday.
Oh, it's coming.
Celebrating early.
I'm just a little early.
31.
30.
Close.
That's true.
So thank you for taking us through what lights you guys up. Very cool. I'm surprised. Most people say family and business number one. That's why originally it was 2. Actually, originally we just said, what do you do for fun? Then I made it 2. And then we made it 5 because everybody says my family and my business. I got tired of that. We wanted to find out other things. So thank you for not saying family and business, although your dogs, which if I was asked those questions, I would definitely say my dog, love of my life. No question. My little fat pug. That's just basically a pillow with legs.
So is mine.
Does nothing. Does nothing but looks cute. Let's talk about hardships for a moment. So I like to lead first a little bit sometimes when these questions can get emotional. So why do we talk about hardships? I'll just put it simply. Sometimes I give a whole lot of context. I don't think it's necessary all the time. I talk about hardships and doing hard things because I simply think that we don't grow well without them. I think the most integral moments of our life typically come through our greatest dragons that we've had to slay. I have all my rules for life inked onto my arm to remind me of who I want to be, especially when things get difficult. And number 4 of 15 is do hard things, to remind myself that, being in fitness, for example, like don't mail it in, make sure it's hard, do it well. When I'm studying, when I'm working on business, when I'm dealing with friendships and avoiding hard conversations. So when I look at my life, what I'm about to ask you guys is was there a moment, trial, tribulation, hardship, where when you look back in hindsight, there's no way you would remove that ingredient from the recipe that has now become you because it's led you to being who you are today? And for me, sometimes people are like, yeah, I mean, I went through COVID in business. It's like, yeah, we all did. Not the greatest hardship. I get it. It was hard, but we all went through it. Not unique. For me, I'm 38 now. And when I was in my late 20s, 25, busted both my legs pretty bad. And that led to painkillers, like pretty fucking significantly. And that takes your life for a whirl, just sucks the soul out of you. So that was a downward spiral, considerably something I talk about often. But through that struggle came a lot of skills to get through it, which led to being an addictions counselor on the weekend, done for the last handful of years. But even the addiction stuff aside, the addiction counseling aside, what you have to learn about yourself to make it through one of those types of things, just the confidence that you get internally by making it through something so difficult, it makes you a stronger human being. So when I think about, I enjoy the shit out of my life today. And more so, this 30s have been the best decade of my life. A big part of that was because of that period. So I believe we all have those stories. And when someone says, like, do you have regrets about going to that doctor or whatever it may be? I couldn't because I don't think I'd be who I am. So trials, tribulations, hardships that you guys have been through that have made you who you are today.
So I definitely have a good story for that one. And it may sound very callous and cold to say, but hear me out. Just about a month after I turned 21, we were in the middle of moving and our house closed like a month after that. I was in the middle of university in my 3rd year. And my dad went to go help a friend fix something at his house and ended up drowning. So my mom and I were home, we were packing. I was actually taking a nap. It was January 3rd of 2016. Doorbell rang. I walked to the door. There was a very nice OPP officer there. She hands me his wallet and said, there's been an accident. You're going to need to come with me. So naturally, that full adrenaline goes through your body. It was horrific, but so they took us to RVH. We found out what had happened. And basically at that time, that kind of day in RVH, I learned how much good there is in the world and how much good people have in horrible times like that. Like my parents were 6 months shy of their 30th wedding anniversary. Our house closed a month later. We hadn't bought another house. That's a whole nother story. But the growth and the evolution of my life that stemmed from that moment, I wouldn't trade for anything. And I'm a firm believer in kind of your path's your path, your time is your time. And my dad was as well. So it makes that a little bit easier. And that's why, I don't want to sound too callous. I miss my dad, obviously. But there's so much that came out of that experience. I learned so much about myself, so much about other people, so much about boundary setting and emotional management, financial management, household management. Every single aspect of my life changed that day. But honestly, a lot of things changed for the better, not because he's gone, but just for going through that experience. Definitely for the better. Saw a lot of beautiful sides of humanity through that.
First off, thank you for sharing that story. That is not easy, and I imagine you've shared that before, because I almost teared up from your experience, and you held your own saying that, which takes a lot of courage. Second off, I don't think it's callous at all. Death happens. It's part of life. I think a lot of us have a weird relationship with death, and I did too for a long time until I learned it's just a part of life. And if we have the option to be beat down by it, which many of us are, some of us are stuck. The moment we lose that person, we feel like we lose a piece of ourselves and we never get it back, and life goes downhill. But I don't think that is, I think that's subjective. I think you get to choose, and clearly you chose to make the most of it. And could you imagine if everybody treated death that way? I don't think that's callous at all. I think that's ultimately the goal. This should be the goal for us. Plus, what would your dad want? For you to just be stuck afterwards, or to blossom?
Absolutely not. I've seen so many people. I jokingly call myself the widow whisperer. I have like 2 or 3 now that I help with things. My mom and my aunt, and then another one of my mom's friends sometimes if she needs anything. I've seen so many people get stuck on it. And honestly, in a certain way, my dad was that way when his own dad passed away. He got a little bit stuck on it. And that was something that I definitely saw at a young age. Because I was 5 when that happened. And kind of just seeing how that way of handling it progressed through life, that was something that I really didn't want to do. And like you said, what would my dad want? My dad would have wholeheartedly accepted his fate of what happened to him. He was a big, like, what happens kind of guy. He would want me to make the best of this situation. He would want me to make the best of life. He would want my mom to make the best of her life too. He wouldn't want us sitting around wallowing. He would be like, that's not productive. What are you doing? Like, what's the point of that? You're just kind of wasting your life, and life is short and death is inevitable. So just enjoy. Just, make the jokes, have fun, eat the pasta, do your thing. It's all, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter anyway.
Well said. Can I ask you one last question before we move on to Dominika?
For
At the end of the day, maybe you grew up this way, maybe it was your environment, maybe it was your parents, maybe it was whatever, but I still believe that you had to make an intentional decision to live that way afterwards. Do you remember some type of catalyst, or sitting down and being like, I'm going to make the most of this? Or did you just immediately kind of step to and react that way automatically?
I like the first instinct that you have. Like, I remember sitting in that quiet room in RVH's ER and just thinking to myself, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because, when you're growing up and it's kind of, he's the main provider, he's like the protector, I don't want to say like the head of the household, because that's, it's not, but it's one of those things that you feel very vulnerable and very scared. And in a way, our house being sold was the best thing that could have happened to us, because it forced us to not be in the same environment that the hurt kind of happened in. So we got a fresh start like a month later, and kind of in that fresh start, my mom and I had rented a house for 6 months, and then we bought out in Horseshoe. Stayed there for 13 months and then bought my aunt and uncle's house in Midhurst. But it was kind of that period of time in that rental house, that 6 months, I definitely, like, I jokingly would tell people I retired, because I wasn't working, I wasn't in school, I was just like sitting there kind of trying to figure out what the hell happened in my life and
Just
what
existing.
just existing and trying to process everything that had just happened and all the changes, because it was a lot of change at one point in time. And then we kind of just, my mom's a very optimistic person. She's incredibly optimistic, no matter what. And she has been through some stuff, and she is a strong gal, but she has always kind of had this outlook of what's meant to be will be, everything's going to turn out okay. She has always been the main champion of, we can't let this get us down. We're going to be okay. We're strong. We are capable. We are smart. We are educated. We got this. So it was kind of, in a weird way, for me, it came about 6 months after. My mom was still kind of a little bit in shock. So she kind of put on that strong face, and then I had to put it on for her after the shock wore off. So I think that's where I credit that decision to just make the best of everything. And kind of, we were handed the opportunity to build a completely new life at that point in time, just due to so many strange circumstances that all happened leading up to it. It was one of those things that I firmly believe that when it's your time, the universe is kind of preparing it for it. So there were so many things that had happened in the 6 months leading up to it that helped us create that fresh start, where I feel like it was the path that we were supposed to take, but everything had to be kind of built from the ground up again. So we just decided, if you have to build it anyway, why build something shitty?
Well said.
Well said. Well said. How about you, Dom?
Well, for me, I'm sort of on the tail end of a journey that I've had to go through in order to learn about myself and find myself. During COVID, I went through a divorce. And then the divorce was with somebody who I thought that I would be with for the rest of my life. Like, I never saw myself as somebody who would be divorced. And, you know, it was basically a recognition that, you know, you're not going down the path. You're not going down the same path with your life partner. And we decided to end it somewhat mutually. We're still friends, which is nice, but
Wow.
we recognized that we just weren't going in the right direction together, and we wanted two different things in our lives. And old me would have just accepted that I have to essentially bend to what others want. And so that kind of forced me to take a stand and advocate for what truly matters to me. I wasn't prepared or in a great place. I was really vulnerable at that time, and I ended up in a relationship that absolutely devastated me and forced me to have to start from the ground up after that divorce. So I'm in a rebuild phase from that right now, and the lessons from that have been absolutely monumental. Things like recognizing that you have the power within yourself to be your own support system, that you don't need somebody else to do it for you, that you're capable, that you have confidence, that you have the ability to be an independent person, and that you are a valuable person with opinions and a voice that matters. You know, just learning those things about yourself, that you are, you know, worthy. So don't settle. Yeah. It's been a huge like mountain to climb. Especially in the last year, I've learned so much about myself. I moved out on my own for the first time ever. I'd never lived by myself before. I had to learn how to be alone with myself and be comfortable, you know, spending days in a house by myself and what to do with that and the feelings that come up from that, right? So Yeah, it's I'm kind of shaky about it because I'm just reflecting on how far I've come in the last year, especially. And there's a good story from it because it really opened me up to finding the relationship that I was truly seeking and the person that I always wanted to be with in my life. And so, kind of crazy, but I met somebody from my past who I used to teach snowboarding at Centennial in Etobicoke 20 years ago.
When she was in high school.
Yeah, so I met him again, and we did a little bit of a long distance relationship for about 10 months just to, make sure that things were a good fit. But it's just very serendipitous that I did the work on myself and then I showed up as my true authentic self. And then I found the person who I've always been seeking that was just came out of the woodwork and that was there 20 years ago. So it's kind of a cool end story.
Great guy too. Really, really great guy.
It's interesting, the cyclical nature of life sometimes, right? To know that this seed was planted 20 years ago and maybe, I don't know, it depends on what you believe in. I don't know what to believe sometimes. I just know there's greater powers out there than us for sure. But maybe you were meant to go on this journey to circle back and, eventually find your way back to this person kind of leveled up type of thing. But
100%.
There's a whole lot of bravery sitting on that couch. Kudos to both of you. Thank you for taking us through those stories. They were no joke. That was awesome. Back to your business. After we have these extremely raw, emotional conversations, like, let's get back to business.
So good at estates. And now you know why.
And also divorce and separation, we have some experience in our pockets, so we can speak to that. We will pick up the phone and be your shoulder to cry on and, lend a helping hand and a listening ear, because usually people don't move because life is easy. People usually move because life is hard. They have to make a decision because there's a job change or a health issue or, something monumental. And I think with our experience of our past, I think we're really prepared to be empathetic and compassionate to people's, needs and what they really need in a difficult time.
We are also both absolutely incapable of being too serious and having any type of proper serious face. We can't put on the business realtor mask. We suck at it. So you're getting what you hear is exactly what you're getting from us.
It's authentic and genuine real estate here. And, our clients, actually, it's funny because all of our clients become our friends. I have a lot of real estate client friends now, which I'm so grateful of. And again, see, this is my village. It's all the people. They all know what I've gone through. We've had real conversations with each other, late nights, dinners. So it feels nice to be adding to that village.
Yeah. It's, I was taught this lesson when I was in fitness. That is a very connected business when you're taking somebody through a physical transformation, but is much more internal transformation, especially when somebody's overweight, heavily so, bringing them down to a physique maybe they haven't seen in 30 years, or for the person that wants to get up on stage. That's incredibly empowering for them and will change every aspect of their life, change the relationship with their spouse, with their children, with their business. And I was warned when I got into this to keep the personal out of it. And I tried my best to do that. And then eventually, again, I've had a lot of mentors. I've mentioned the word mentor a number of times. I've had a few of them, very lucky that most of them are still in my life. And, one of them, she taught me that you're human, whether it's business or it's sports or it's personal or it's love or whatever it is, you're bringing the same qualities in and out of all of these experiences. And every time you try to block them off, you're potentially hurting that relationship. Just be you in these situations. Even if you put, Jeff's business hat on, just still be you. If you're with your buddies, still be you. If you're with your family, your loved ones, whatever it is, just be you. And it will work out the way it should or better than if you try to be something you're not. And since then, I started personal training when I was 20. and now moving into this business, there was one period of time in there where I said, no, absolutely, I've been burnt. It's only business and only friends. And I try to separate. It was a very empty part of my life right there in the middle between 20 and 38. And so now it's similar to you guys. Most of our clients, at least half of them or so, are our buds. Like we just talk this way. And the expectations come down for that level of professionalism. The expectations go up for this person is who I think they are each and every time type of thing, if you get where I'm coming from. So I like what you guys are saying. I think it is true. I don't think you need to separate business from personal. I don't really know how to do it. I'm the same person, whether I'm on here or there or in the gym or wherever. And it works better for me. It seems to work better for you guys. Back to your business. Put you guys on stage. I don't know if you like public speaking or not, but that's the picture I'm painting right now. Both on stage. You got 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, short window. I've said that to about 440 people now because that's how many podcasts we've done. I don't think anybody has stuck to 60 seconds. They've all taken it like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. I'm trying to put them through something that could be very potent for their business, but nobody's really picked up on it. So 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. 1,000 of your potential clients are out there looking at you, current clients, ex-clients, potential clients, whatever it may be. What do you want to tell them about working with you?
Well, based on what you've heard so far, I guess what we're trying to convey here is that we are just real human beings, and we understand the process of the real estate transaction in a human way. And we come in with compassion and empathy and understanding and provide more than just the paperwork and signing the documents and see you later. There's a whole nother side of it where we become your village and your support system and take you through a really difficult time in your life that brings on a lot of stress, and we try to make it easy for you. We take that stress off your back, so then that way you can make this a positive experience and a memorable one, as opposed to one that leaves you feeling, negative feelings. So what about you, Sam?
I would say when you're working with us, it is a very personalized approach. We are very much kind of paying attention and in tune to what we would need if we were in your shoes, and we try to provide that. And it's not every day is going to be the same. Not every service provided to everybody is going to be the same. It is situation by situation, and we truly take it each unique situation. It's not just kind of,
cookie cutter.
We want to get to know you as a person, and if you work with us, we are taking you kind of under our wing. We're going to be talking to each other a lot, seeing a lot of each other, and we will do everything in our power to take the best care of you that we can in any way possible.
Love it. Last question for you before we get on to how people can connect with you guys. So I don't put this in the questionnaire because I don't want people to prepare for it. But again, back to mentorship. One of them taught me about what impact as a human being. Essentially, you're born, you die. What does the middle equate to? And I think a lot of people take that as legacy. Legacy means posthumously. You're dead. I don't know what I'm going to feel when I'm dead. So, leaving behind something, like building up my whole life to leave behind something that I'm not going to see. I don't know. I'm just not there yet. Maybe when I have kids and it'll be less about me and more about them. But I want to see what I'm done for people, positively, negatively. I want to be aware of the impact, the ripple effect of my existence while I'm alive. And I think that's a very potent mental exercise, because when you start to recognize how far that ripple effect ripples outwards, I think it goes way beyond our line of sight. Just making one person smile once could potentially touch hundreds of people, raises that person's energy, and then she touches him and he touches her and goes and keeps going just from a smile. Imagine what a real impact would look like beyond just a smile. So it's something that I think about often. It's why all of these are on my arm, because I'm very conscious of trying to be very conscious of the impact that I'm making now. And it is one of the most fascinating questions for me personally to ask other human beings. And the answers are just unbelievable. So I'd like to ask both of you, Dom, Sam, what would you like your impact to be?
Well, I think I would actually say, Sam, you should start, because she's joined Rotary recently, and I think is laying the groundwork for some impactful work in your lifetime.
I got this one. I also, based on what I've been through, think about death a lot. So I got this one. So personally, I have decided that I have really no interest in being a mom to kids. So my legacy that I would love to leave on the world is just making it a better place. I think that I can do a lot of good, and I think that I can generate a lot of like positive energy in the world. And again, that same psychic told me that basically my contributions to the world will likely be monetary in nature. But hey, I'll take it. Through Rotary, though, I found out that you can do so much more, and it's given me such an amazing sense of purpose. So if my legacy is nothing but being a Rotarian with the Barrie Rotary Club, that is okay with me, because they do so much good. And I truly believe that I found that for a reason, and that will be a big part of my legacy. But ideally, I would like to, just leave the world better than I found it.
And I definitely see the value of, giving back to your community now more than ever. There are so many people struggling out there, and some people are struggling loudly and some people are struggling very quietly. And you have to put yourself in other people's shoes and find out what would be impactful to help get them through a difficult part in their life. And, sometimes it's really small things. Sometimes it's really big things. That, like, a small thing would be just, being able to call somebody and knowing that they might be going through something, and just like listening to them and being a sounding board, and giving them space, holding space for them. And then other ways, doing something for your community, such as like a toy drive leading up to Christmas. I mean, with the economic hardships people are facing now, even something as small as getting your neighbors together to donate toys for the less fortunate ones. Like, that's, I think, a small impact that has a ripple effect. And then you just build from there, and you just do more and more for your community and your peers and your human family,
I'm a big believer in small gestures. So I the last year or so, I've made a point to compliment a stranger every time I leave the house. And I don't know if it's made any type of big difference, but you definitely get a lot of smiles out of people, and they're never expecting it. It's just, if I see something, I'm like, oh, her hair looks great, or she's got a really nice smile, or oh, I really like her coat, or whatever it may be. I always will just go up and just talk to them. My boyfriend's like, people might think you're a little odd. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm giving them a compliment. If they don't like it, they can just get over it.
But the kindness goes such a long way. Like, imagine you're having a really bad day and somebody just comes up to you and says, hey, the color of your hair is really nice, or I really like your nails, or just something really small, like a small gesture. I think that makes you feel good, and then you take that and then you can pass that on to somebody else. So it does have a ripple effect. The little things turn into big things. It's a butterfly effect.
Like, personally, I really don't care if anyone remembers my name after I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm not going to be there. I don't really care. Doesn't change anything, but definitely making the world a better place while you're in it is something that would be kind of one of the most important things to me.
And then you inadvertently leave a legacy, because you're leaving the world a better place. There's no plaque or anything. Your name's not on anything, but you know that you've made an impact, and that energy is transferred and the vibration has been raised.
I love it. And Sam, when you're out there trying to compliment strangers, how does that make you feel when you do it, regardless of what they do?
It's lovely. Oh, sorry.
We have the dog alarm bar.
That's enough. Thank you. We're safe. Thank you.
For some reason, I thought Kurt, just by, I don't know, my brain just took it. The words you said, Kurt was very small in my head, and now he sounds very large.
He's very large. He is 80 pounds. He's a gigantic. Yeah, he came named Kirk, but we kind of jokingly say it's Kirkland because he's jumbo bulk size, like Costco. Mm-hmm. So that's where the Kirkland came from. But no, he's quite a large boy.
But yeah, how does it make you feel when you compliment somebody?
I love it. It's great just to see people smile, and you can tell it sometimes it makes their day a little bit. And I feel like I'm doing some good in the world, and I feel like I'm generating some positivity, and that makes me feel good.
I think that's one of the things we are wired for. And that's why I asked that question. Is it's so easy to get wrapped up in our own stuff. Life is difficult. We have our own emotions. We have our own stresses, financial, business, whatever. We're constantly faced with challenges. And I would say that there's a good point to that too. If life was really easy, I think it would get boring. But it is logical to understand that we get wrapped up in our own stuff. We mainly think about ourselves, I believe. But when we start thinking about other people, just for a moment, you do something kind, you're rewarded chemically in the brain, factually, not anecdotally, to feel good, to do that. It's amazing. Just to make somebody, even if they don't smile, but you do something you know is right, help somebody across the street, whatever it is, you sacrifice a moment of your time to give to somebody else, you will be rewarded. And what a gift that is. So I don't know what made us, but something intentionally seemed to wire us to bond positively with each other, which is a pretty cool thing.
I think for myself, we had so much amazing, kind energy that came out after my dad passed away. I'll never be able to repay it in full to everyone that helped us, because it was not a village. It was like a city that came out. It was incredible. So seeing people do that has also really inspired me to see that there's a lot of good in the world, and you can either contribute to it or you can be a negative, unpleasant person who chooses to see things in the negative. So it's definitely one of those things, when you see the good in the world, you want to contribute to the good in the world.
Love it. I do think it is a perspective. If people are interested, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys? How do they reach you?
We have a couple of different ways that you can reach us. We have a social account on Instagram at the Simcoe Life, which you can follow, and it shows mostly listings, but sometimes we also post about our lives as well, just to keep it real. Although admittedly, I haven't been super great at that, because I feel like posting online is being vulnerable, but I'm working on it, because I think being vulnerable and open on your social media, I think it just helps to gain a more authentic connection with people. But to that point, we also have a website, www.thesimcoelife.com. And those have has our contact information as well.
For somebody that doesn't want to post on their social media because it's vulnerable, you certainly crushed it today. I mean, goodness.
Oh, this is huge. This has been the biggest thing I think we've ever done. And we talked about being on a podcast for the better part of 1.5 years. We're like, we should start a podcast, because we always have funny things to talk about. And we're
all the time.
So you've actually crossed something off the bucket list for us, and
cool experience.
Yeah.
We're grateful for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys liked it. You've been great. Any final words now that we've come to the end? Anything you want to say to the audience?
Oh, I guess thank you for listening to us talk about what makes us us and our business, and listen to, the real Sam and Dom. And we're excited to connect with you guys and potentially work with you in the future. We're really excited for that. So
keep on being good neighbors.
That's it. You guys have both been a pleasure. Thank you for taking us through that. Those were some pretty raw stories. Those are my favorite personally. An hour went by very, very quickly. And until we talk again, you guys have a great afternoon.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Bye. You as well.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwithjeffandsean.com. That's gnpwithjeffandsean.com, or call 705-413-3775.